Hey, welcome back to another nighttime video. Still sitting by the Arby's drive-thru here with my bright redness going on because of that Arby's neon light. So, I was going to talk about, at the end of the last video, I realized it was getting long, and I cut it short and told everybody I was going to talk about some really good stuff. So I better come up with something good. Because I tried to do the old cliffhanger, kind of a deal. But, well, I did say I was going to tell a story about when my karate master lived with me, so that's a good one I can do. If I didn't tell that sandwich story, the sandwich story is a good one, because, we didn't have a lot of work going on then, so both of us were a little lower on money. And we're in the kitchen side by side making sandwiches for lunch. And as we're, he's pulling the mayo out, we got the lunch meat out and stuff, and I reach in the fridge, and there was only one piece of individually wrapped sliced cheese left. And as I grab it, he says, "Oh, you don't want that cheese, that's bad for you." I said, "What do you mean bad for me? This ain't bad for me." He said, "Sure is." He said, "Makes your nose bleed." I said, "Make my nose bleed? I ain't gonna make my nose bleed." He said, "Sure is." He said, "Because if you eat it, I'm gonna punch you in the nose." And I said, "Ooh, that cheese is bad for me." And then he laughed too, of course, because he was just joking with me all the way. Well, so then we finished going about making our sandwiches, and I would let him have it anyway. So just by him joking around with me, I figured he was kind of like hoping to have some cheese, and he could have it anyway. I could just have just a meat sandwich. So, but then he ended up peeling the cheese open, folding it in half, and breaking it in two, and he threw half a slice on his sandwich and half a slice on my sandwich. So we split the last piece of cheese, and I didn't get a bloody nose. It was worth a half a piece of cheese. So that's one of my karate master stories from when we were living together. It was a fun one too. And a lot of good ones. And I had, because I did maintenance and stuff. Well, one time the front door, I didn't like squeaky hinges, so I'd oil them, make them nice, and that door was one of the best lined up doors I've ever had in my life. The door seals were good on it, but they were like, it would close against the door seals. So the door seals were good, but when you go to open it, it was just like silent, And I was coming back home one day, and he just was coming out of the kitchen. So he'd just come out the door and took left to go towards the living room. And I come in the door behind him, but the door, like I said, that front door was silent. And because I've been training from him, I've learned to walk lighter and stuff. Because, if you walk heavy and you're stomping your feet around, well, he'd point that out to you, that somebody can hear you coming, So everything was training, And so, of course, I learned to walk like a ninja. I learned to move like a ninja. Well, that almost got me hurt. Because with my quiet door, the combination of me walking and moving like a ninja and my quiet door, that was almost deadly for me. Because when he was coming out of that kitchen and I was coming in the front door and it was so quiet, I was already stepped in, and I seen his back, but I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I was right behind him, and then I shut the door, and of course he heard the door shut. He didn't hear it open, but he heard it, with the sound of the door shutting, and he just spun around real quick. I mean, he was ready to whoop my... It was. The look in his eyes, man, because it startled him. He didn't hear me, and then all of a sudden he heard the door close right behind him, so he spun around quick, and then there I am standing right there. So, which he ID'd me instantly, but there was that split second of him turning around not knowing because the door just shut, and he turned around in a stance ready for anything, And let me tell you, the look in his eyes, he was ready for anything. And I just, right away, when he snapped into a stance, I dropped back away from him, because moving towards him, he might have reacted, So as it was happening, like as he was spinning around, I knew, because I've trained with him enough. So I stepped back, and he turns around with that look on his face, and I'm like, "Hey, it's me." And he says, "Man," he says, "I didn't hear you." I said, "Yeah, I do got that door lubed up pretty good." But And then I could see his adrenaline come down, a little bit, because I'm sure it was a little bit of adrenaline spike for him. It surprised him. But no, he didn't whomp on me, and I didn't get whomped on, and it all worked out well, because as soon as he spun around, I was already moving back, because that way I'm retreating. I'm not a threat coming in still, because if I was still moving towards him as he's spinning around, if he doesn't ID me quick enough, I'm going to end up pretzeled or a broken arm or something. Who knows, if I startled him that much, and if he doesn't ID me fast enough while he's turning around to do whatever he's got to do, So he wasn't the only one with an adrenaline spike. I got one too. He spun around quick, which spiked my adrenaline as I dropped back, It was almost like that moment of the showdown at the OK Corral. Actually, I think that's in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. But you know what I mean. Well, people my age or older know what I mean. You young kids, a lot of you might not know. Clint Eastwood, good stuff. That's if you got appreciation for creation, movies, acting, the creation, script writing, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Clint Eastwood, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, pretty dang good for an old western. And I like all kinds of movies. I like sci-fis, westerns, dramas. And horror, I'm not into horror movies so much really, but I got friends that like horror, so if I'm watching movies with friends, they want to watch one, I'll watch it with them, and do my best to enjoy it with them, but it's not my choice. I would prefer comedies because laughter is really good. Laughter is really healthy, and believe it or not, the more comedies you watch, if you watch ones you like that make you laugh, you will feel happier in life. It does. It helps. If you watch news a lot, you're probably going to become a little more of a little more pessimistic and negative, because there's news. When I was a kid growing up, news was like kind of fact stuff that was going on. It wasn't about making money or creating drama or nothing like that, or trying to get more views. They just broadcasted the news. This is the news today, whether you like it or not. This is what we found. This is what we investigated. Here it is. Pretty plain and simple. And they used to have nice stories too. They used to have community stories, and stuff. And once it became more of a business, news, just drama and negativity seemed to get them more ratings, more people watching. So it became a business instead of actual news, And it just ain't the same as when I was a kid, That's just my opinion. If you don't see it that way, that's okay. Just how I feel since I was a kid growing up. See, things have changed. When I was a kid growing up, I was a night owl. All my life I've been kind of a night owl. But at night, the TV would end. When we had tube TVs, we didn't have all these fancy flat screen stuffs. There were old tube TVs that had antennas and rabbit ears that you'd put tinfoil on to get a better signal sometimes. Then you'd be moving them this way and that way and trying to bend the tinfoil and stuff if the show was on that was getting static and you wanted to get it in a little clearer. But then at the end of the night, they'd do the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner and stuff, and you'd see the jets flying by, and you always felt good about your country and knew that you had a country with pride in it, And that's just what I grew up in, Things are a lot different now. And I was in that transition. Then after that, all the channels signed off at the end of the night. So there was no TV. You'd turn it on and just be snow, static. Kind of like Poltergeist, that movie Poltergeist, when the little girl, it's on the static channel and it says they're here or something like that. I don't know. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. It's kind of been a fun little movie though. When I was a kid, it kind of creeped me out and scared me. Now it won't scare me as much, I don't think. I don't know, I could be a big cry baby. So, where am I at on this? Well, I'm doing alright, and I even told some stories that are true stories. I have a lot of stories in my life. And part of it's because I have, I don't know, I want to say a semi-photographic memory. I'm not, I remember lots of things. I can't just pull it all up instantly. Sometimes it just comes to me, so different memories or something triggers it to make me remember stuff. Sometimes I remember a lot of details, but I think more than the average person maybe, because a lot of my friends different people have said, man, you share a lot of stories. Well, it's all part of my life, stuff I've lived through. And I do have a semi-photographic memory, though. Like, there's some people that got a literal photographic memory. Like, you could even tell them a date and a time, and they'll tell you, oh, on that date, I was having lunch, and I was wearing this green shirt, this green sweater with these slacks, and it was over on 7th Street, and the waiter that day, he was not that good, and they remember everything, I'm not like that, but I do have a pretty dang good memory. And I've got so many, because I like music, I got so many songs in my mind. My stepfather my stepdad, he was really cool too. I love that man. Awesome influence in my life as well. But every time he'd talk about a song or something, I'd start singing the lyrics. And once he did it a few times, then he started mentioning other songs, and I'd start saying the lyrics. He was kind of testing me. And he said, "How do you do that? How do you know?" So, "I don't know, Dad." Then I remembered, his office when we were growing up as a kid, because he was a electronic engineer / salesman working for this company, making really good money when we were kids, and he had a Rolodex. What a Rolodex is, for young kids that don't know, it would sit on his desk, and it had like 5x7, or no, they weren't 5x7. So I think they were 3x5s, 3-inch by 5-inch about cards in there that would go in there, and it was alphabetical, and it was on a rotator thing, like a filing cabinet kind of, but it was just a big ball, and there'd be little cards, the 3-inch by 5-inch, that you'd write the name of the business, your contact, the phone numbers, whatever, fax number if they had a fax. That was big technology then, big time, because computers weren't there yet. Faxes, well, in the beginning there wasn't even fax, I don't think. I'd have to think about it harder, but I don't think they even had fax yet at that time. I think that was just started rolling into it right about when he had the Rolodex, maybe faxes were just starting to happen. But anyway, and you can go roll through the whole alphabet tabs just like in a file cabinet, and then you'd flip it open, and you could, and they were just kind of clipped into the Rolodex, so you could actually pop the card out if you want, so then you could make your phone call to your business contact or whatever. Anyway, that's what a Rolodex is. So I told Dad that's kind of how my mind works for the songs anyway. If somebody mentions the song, or if I hear some of the lyrics or hear the notes from the song, the beginning of the song, that is the key that rolls this Rolodex in my mind, that opens up that file, that then the lyrics come to me. And it's not like I don't know how to explain it. It's some autistic savant or whatever they are that might see things in colors, and that's how they translate it or something. For me, sometimes it's a word, but it's more the memory of the feeling of the song, for most of it, I think. I don't know. That one's a good one. I never thought about that before. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, me and my karate master's grandson, who's another great man. I really love that guy too. I almost said that kid, but he's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man. But he was a kid when I first met him, and so it's instinctive for me to say kid because I'm so much older. Oh, that's terrible. But he's a really good man. I love him with all my heart. He's family for life. But he had said to me one day, we were talking about different stuff, and he said something about his son saying to him, and I can't remember, I hope I get it right, but I think he was asking his dad when you remember something, or that, do you remember it in a first-person view or like a third-person view? Because you kind of like video games, you can be first-person view, looking right out your own eyes, kind of like, or second-person view where you're seeing yourself, kind of, or I guess you could go third, where you might be outside of it, like looking at the whole situation. What an interesting thought, huh? How is that amazing? So I wonder how that is for you when you have memories. Are your memories from a first-person view, or does your mind translate it into like a second or third-person view? And if you have an answer for that, put it in the comments. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. Because when he brought that up to me, I told him I was going to use that in one of my videos, and I don't know if I did or not already. I think I might have talked about it a little bit, but I'm glad it came to my mind again, because I'm curious, and you're watching this video and you understand what I'm saying about, do you remember your memories in a first, second, or third person view, or however you want to describe it. But if you could put it in the comments, I'm very curious. I'd like to hear some different input on that. And I wonder, I bet you people see it differently, when they think about memories. I wonder how they look at them. I would say not all of my memories, but most of my memories are pretty much first person view because of what I remembered. So I'm seeing it from my eyes, the memories. But sometimes I can even think about memories like when I went to Niagara Falls. When I got to go to Niagara Falls with friends and my godchildren and stuff, I have first-person memories from there that I'm seeing first person, but I can also see it all in third person, kind of like, I can see the whole, I don't know how to explain that. That's a tough one, boy. Man, it's amazing. I'm thinking about how my brain works now. That is really cool. Holy mackerel. Well, I hope I get some comments about that. I don't know if you're going to find that as fascinating as I do, but right now I'm finding it pretty dang fascinating. I almost sound like Spock from Star Trek. Fascinating. Oh, and I guess I got a kind of a cute joke for you if you're a Star Trek fan at all. I seen a deal on Facebook, and it was actually Catherine Janeway from Voyager's captain, and Tuvok, the half Vulcan, half human science officer or whatever, and they were looking at one of their screens on the ship, and she says something, and it says something like, "Our sensors are detecting a snowstorm." And Tuvok, the Vulcan, says, "Logic dictates that we should stock up on milk and bread." So I found that kind of funny because I'm a Trek fan, and I see it happening like even today because we've got weather coming again, some rain, sleet, snow stuff or something, and everybody showed up at Walmart to stock up on not only milk and bread, but other essentials and stuff. So hey, once again, thank you for watching. God bless you, and we will see you on the next one.